Hi, everybody. It's Chris F. Walker here with the Christian Influencer Convention. And today I am joined by two of the most just adorable people I've ever known. And they just had a baby, so they've got an addition with them there, too. Please welcome Chris and Chenoa. Guys, thanks for joining me today. I'm really grateful that you were able to carve out an hour of your time to sit down with us and share your story.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Okay, but with that, let's go ahead and jump right in. I do want to ask the simple question right off the bat is kind of who are Chris and Chenoa? How did you guys become the platform that you guys have now? I mean, you're YouTubers, you're social media influencers. You're the dream. Everybody wants to be that now. It used to be everybody wanted to be a fireman or an astronaut, and now everybody wants to be what you guys are doing. I mean, you've done it. So how did that come about?
I think Chris first fell in love with social media and kind of took me under his wing into starting this.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in the industry a little bit, in the entertainment industry. My dad was a YouTuber. Mm-hmm. That was his job when I was growing up. So I was kind of always around that type of stuff. And, growing up and seeing my dad, I wanted to be just like him. He was my idol as a kid, Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how the social media thing got started for me. And then
when COVID happened, we decided, why not? Let's give this a shot. We have nothing else to do. Everyone's sick because we got COVID. His whole family got COVID. So there wasn't a lot of filming going on because he was working for his dad at the time. So we started filming our own stuff and we're like, why not? Let's do it.
Why not? We have a pretty entertaining life, I feel like.
We love making people.
very, very loud and chaotic. So
we just keep popping out the babies.
Yeah.
So we love making people laugh and we want people
Oh, goodness.
We want people to enjoy laughing at us too.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. What was kind of your guys's we can usually just go off of view counts and say, okay, yeah, this video had, some odd million views and that's what kicked it off. But in your guys' mind, what was it that you looked at and you said, you know what, I think this is actually going to be our career path? Was it when the first video went viral, or was it when you guys said, well, there's something to this and maybe there was something a little bit later, or were you guys always determined to make it happen?
Yeah, it was kind of maybe a mixture of both.
Yeah.
I always knew that it could be a career path if we worked at it enough and worked hard enough for it. Again, my dad had a career in it, so I'm like, I know it's possible. I know we can do it. Mm-hmm. I know, how to do it a little bit. So, but what really sparked it for us personally was after the first month, I think, of starting TikTok. We started TikTok with a blank slate, and a month later we had 500,000 followers almost, and that kind of blew our minds because that's unheard of. In my mind, that wasn't a thing back in the day, like when my dad was doing it and stuff like that. It was more, you work really hard to get 100,000 followers on YouTube because it was so hard to grow. But that TikTok came around and they're like, boom, everybody's getting 1 million followers just like that. It's like crazy. The opportunity that they opened up for us.
Yeah.
So
get up out of my arms.
Oh. So do you guys want to introduce us to our little companion here who's joining us?
Yeah, this is
Kalea.
Little Miss Kalea.
Kalea
May. She's 2 weeks old.
Oh my goodness. She's adorable. Oh gosh. Yeah. Well, there's 1 million views just right there. Oh, she opened her eyes. Perfect.
Oh,
we got it on camera. She can't take it back now. Awesome. Okay. Well, so now for the Christian Influencer Convention, obviously we're talking more about, how the faith element kind of plays out with a lot of this. So I want to kind of step back and go kind of, let's go back to childhood and say, how did your faith journey start? Were you guys always in church? Was the parents kind of, for lack of better words, ramming it down? We've seen some people who their parents are, you will be a Christian by God, and that can actually have detrimental effect to some people. So you guys obviously have a strong faith. How'd you get there, and where was the start?
For me, I was a pastor's kid, so
okay.
So I didn't really have an option. No, I did. My parents actually weren't hounding about it. I think they did a good job separating it from being like in my face constantly because we were at church, half of the week. So it was really cool. Both my parents had a crazy upbringing. So I think hearing their stories really inspired me to know that how God was so real and how he played a huge part in their lives. So I was like, he must be real. So I think from a very young age, I really took on the belief and really held it close to my heart because how he was so faithful in my parents' lives. And then growing up, just being a crazy teenager, I kind of had a rebellious phase, but I always knew God was there with me. And I think Mary and Christopher, we definitely both have challenged each other in like what we believe and how God plays a role in our lives and how we want him to be the center of our lives. So, so I think it just keeps growing stronger every year.
Very cool. Chris, how about you, bud?
Yeah, I was raised Christian, Christian household. It wasn't really, I guess it wasn't one of those things where like you're hounded at like you will be Christian, but it kind of was in a way, I guess. Because I mean that's kind of what the Bible says, is to raise your children in the faith, like make them know, God. And it's up to us to brainwash our own children. I mean, I think that's a great thing,
Well, you're going to brainwash them anyways.
You're going to get brainwashed. It's just a question of who's going to do it, right? So, okay.
Yeah, who's going to get to you first?
Your parents are. So, I was raised in the faith, and I grew up going to kind of Assembly of God churches mainly. I remember we moved a lot, so I've gone to lots of different kinds of churches. And seen some crazy experiences and the slain in the Holy Spirit type of events, and then the typical, I don't know, go there and sit down and what's the word, hipster churches, I think. Mega churches.
The hippie didn't love you, man. Yeah.
So it's like
feel good churches. You go from like
churches, country club churches,
make you feel like crap to feel good.
But my parents would always kind of encourage us, about God, and God is real, and that he loves us. And I don't know. It was cool.
That's awesome. Okay, so you guys were raised up in the faith, and your families were obviously a big factor in that. And then, imagine that Chenoa having a pastor's daughter, a pastor's child having a rebellious stage. Who would have thunk? It's funny. They always give kind of they always pick on the pastors, saying that it's the pastor's child. But the thing is, everybody goes through rebellious stages, and it's just proof that they're no different than that. So, okay. So as far as your own personal faith, then when did it become something that for you internalized? Not even about your marriage yet, just like you, like Chris and Jesus, Chenoa and Jesus. When did that become solidified? How did that become something that you're like, this is something I can't veer away from anymore?
Sure, I can go first. Ladies first, right? I think a huge moment for me, I also moved around a lot. And so I think every time we moved was really hard for me. And I saw how God showed up and how he was working through not just myself, but my family. But also when we moved to Palm Desert around middle school years, I think that's hard for everybody. Middle school is just terrible for the parents and for the kids. And I had an eating disorder, so I struggled with bulimia, and I think that was huge, overcoming that and really focusing back on God and how he sees me, and bringing that to light. That was like the hugest thing. So I was like 13.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Hard time, but yeah. What about for you, Christopher?
Yeah. I mean, for me, I think what really solidified it for me was learning of like how real miracles are, and the apologetic side of things as well, of like the there's evidence for our faith as well. It's not just some random book from 2,000 years ago and we need to believe it because it says so. Like, I believe it because it says so and there's evidence for what it says.
Right.
On top of that, there's just evidence for like literally the way that like marriage is designed in the Bible. is the perfect way, and our stats show it as well, such as like divorce rates in our country and in the world and stuff like that. It drops like, I don't know the exact stat, but like immensely when you live a biblical marriage the way that God designed it.
I think it was over 50%.
Yeah.
Like it was a crazy percentage.
But like just I don't know, just looking around, it's like, wow, there is a creator, there has to be. And then hearing stories like people, okay, so here's a story, let me back up. I was at a church in like high school. I went and visited a church that my friends went to, and it was, I don't know what kind of church you would call it, but it basically, like, it was a prayer night, and people were prophesying, like, straight up, like, getting words from God about people. Like, my sister and I were there, and somebody, you know, had a word about my sister, never met her in her life, and would say, like, was talking about personal details about her life at that very moment, and that God was saying, you know, it's gonna, I don't remember exactly, but like deep stuff about it. And it was just like, just the little things like that. I'm like, whoa, that's insane.
Yeah. It's, when there's too many coincidences that you can no longer chalk them up to coincidence.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Totally.
Okay. Very cool. In fact, actually, it bears to mind one of my favorite phrases is actually from 1 Peter 3:15, and that's where they say that we should always be prepared to give answer for our faith. And when people have questions, because the biggest thing that deters most people from faith is actually the lack of evidence for their questions that they have. They haven't seen the answers yet.
Yeah.
And so that's awesome that you ended up having the doubting Thomas side of it is where we say it. But once the doubts are removed, your faith is solidified.
Yeah.
And I love that you guys have said, you know, if you traveled a lot and you've seen different churches, and you know that there actually is a problem in this country with a lot of churches who kind of almost do they kind of revert back to you do it because we said so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, as a parent, there's definitely times where I have to look at my kids and I say, you're doing it because I said so. It's like, you don't get options in there. But the thing is that our faith, I think that's where a lot of these, you know, becoming it personal, having something that becomes a personal element is hindered by that, because just because you told me to doesn't mean it's real. Yeah. And we know that, you know, when we're kids and their parents say, you have to clean your room. Well, I don't want to clean my room, but I'm going to, but that doesn't change the fact of like why it should be clean or anything like that. That's never solidified in your head. Yeah. So beautiful, beautiful testimony there too, Chris, and Chenoa also, because yours was through a testimony of recovery. You were actually having to deal with a legitimate, you know, psychological, which actually led to physical issues. Yeah. And you leaned on God to overcome it. That's awesome. Thank you, guys. That's beautiful. Okay. So now that we've okay. So Chris, you're the apologist, and Chenoa, you're definitely more the healing side of it. And you say you guys got touched and you know how it works. So now how does that then play out? You guys said, you've already alluded that you want it to be something central in your marriage. So what's some good practices or good examples of how your marriage has kind of revolved around faith as you guys are growing together?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is having the conversations. And
I thought you were going to say me doing the dishes.
Oh my gosh.
The homemaker. Yeah, that's funny. We make a lot of jokes. Yeah, it's fun. But yeah, I think I don't even remember.
Sorry.
You threw him off.
What was the question again?
So Chris was saying how you guys are willing to have the conversations about faith together, and that's actually a big step too. Is, you know, the first thing to overcome is just be willing to talk about it.
Yeah, exactly.
I think when we were dating, we kind of started doing that too.
Mm-hmm.
Challenging each other about what marriage looks like and doing the pre-marriage counseling.
And just having conversations like on the sermons, and like we just talk about it. Like that's, I think, one of the most important things is talking about your faith together, where you're at, and
reminding each other of what love really is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because that's really hard in marriage, because you want to compare, compete, or to remind, or to do all the things, and to remember that's not what love really means in the Bible.
Mm-hmm. I think I once heard someone say that if you're in a competition he was talking to me directly, so he was referring to my wife, but you can just say, you insert spouse wherever he uses the word wife. But if you're in competition with your wife, then if you win, good job. You just beat your wife.
Yeah.
And if you lose, what did you gain? There's no winning in a competition against your spouse. It just doesn't shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
So I love that you guys are saying, it's not that we're always going to agree, but we are always on the same side. And that's a big difference. So beautiful to do that. Okay, great. Okay, so now we've got the littles. So how many kids do you guys have now total? Three
in 4 years.
And you guys have been popping them out. Yeah. I mean, are we done, or you got more on the horizon?
We got more coming.
I mean, we're young. Might as well have a couple more.
Wow, that's impressive. I got to tell you, by the first kid, I was the little nurturing. Oh, I'm gonna watch my baby. By the second kid, I was like, yeah, they bounce. But you guys are on your third one now, so the only thing I'm going to tell you is give it a little time before you decide on a fourth, because the change between 2 to 3 is big. It's large. That third kid makes a difference in the home. Oh my gosh. So
we're already noticing that.
You only got 2 hands, so when there's 3 kids, it's like I can only corral 2 of them at a time. So
exactly.
Well, the good news is if you guys are working together like you're supposed to, then there's actually 4 hands, so you guys could pop out another kid just fine. So
thanks.
No worries. Okay, well, that's beautiful. So have you been? I mean, you're having them all so close together. So I mean, that's actually, I think, really good, because that means that they're going to grow up together.
Yeah.
But how has it been for the home now? I mean, that's got to be chaos here. You got 3 little ones all that close together.
Yeah.
We have a lot of help and support. His family.
My family lives around, like, down the road, so they come over and help every once in a while. My grandma will watch, like, our kids a couple days a week.
She's a young grandma, so she's like 70.
70.
Yeah, she's a young great grandma.
Yeah. Oh, gotcha. Okay, well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of help. We actually have chickens, dog, and 3 kids. So.
Whew. Just
it's a lot.
Well, but the chickens, for me, eggs is like a necessity of life. So
Absolutely.
If it wasn't for the fact that the chickens were how the eggs come about, I'd probably do better at having more eggs, because I'm just not made for handling chickens. Okay, great. So now you guys have been doing this now for, you got your big kind of breakout only just a few years ago, right?
For social media?
Yeah, for social media.
Yeah, I think this is our 3rd year.
So you guys are in your 3rd year.
Yeah, because we started the end of 2020. It was like December or November.
Yeah, because I think you guys kind of got your breakout during the COVID time also, right?
Yeah. It was December. Yeah, of 2020.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Okay, so now that it's you're 3 years into this, how has it affected just kind of the normal routine? Like, you guys have had a little bit of time now to kind of get the feel for it. Now, Chris, it might not be any different for you at all. Your dad's been doing this for a long time, so you're probably just kind of used to that lifestyle. But Chenoa, this is
all
new for you.
All new.
Yeah.
I think at first it was definitely really challenging trying to balance, like, him working, me having babies and popping them out, but I think
in your like confidence on camera.
Oh yeah, I'm like, what is this?
She didn't know that wasn't a part of her life.
He's like, no, you have to hold the phone like this. I'm like, wow.
She didn't even, you didn't know. She didn't watch YouTube either. So
yeah, I also, not only did I not know anything about how to do things, I didn't know anything about social media, period, because I wasn't on it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a whole new world for me. That's for sure. But I think it's just our life now. It's our lifestyle. We just are making it more like, what's it called, vloggy or coupley. So we just film our life now.
Yeah.
When before it was like more pranks and other stuff, more crazy stuff. Now it's just like, what are we doing today? And filming that more so.
Yeah. Okay.
We're capturing moments. So that's easier.
Well, that brings up a good question then is, what would you guys say for the people that are going to be watching this interview? A lot of them, when they see social media and they follow some of the influencers and they see other people doing this, they're following them for the content that's on air, the stuff that is published. What would you say about what happens behind the scenes, about life in general that doesn't make it onto YouTube, and for people who are I guess, getting maybe a fantasy idea of what life is supposed to be like because of social media, but forgetting about the realities that go behind it. Why don't you guys speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, people don't. Well, I think a big problem with social media, and I've heard a lot of other pastors actually preach about this, is you don't see the behind the scenes. You just see this a lot of the time picture perfect like world, and they're the best couple or best person ever, and this and that, and nobody's perfect, and no relationship is perfect. And
sometimes people do even behind the scenes of video, and I'm like, it's still not like your
that wasn't true. Yeah,
you're still like, you know what I mean?
So it's there's a balance. You need to be on the same page, and there are fights now and again as well. Just like if you're working with your partner, it can be challenging at times.
If your kid's in the video, they can start screaming.
Yeah, that stuff too. Just things. So it's just like you have to work hard in your relationship to be able to like make it stay strong and happy and all the things.
I think also we're kind of gearing our content in the way where we want to be more real with people. So to kind of show like, oh yeah, my toddler's screaming and it's normal right now during this video, or I don't know, just we're trying to be more real and authentic in our videos now.
I'm looking at the little one right now who's asleep, and I was thinking of, probably all the moms out there who are going like, I wish my baby would just fall asleep so I could, have conversations. But it's you never know what kind of kid you're going to get. That's one thing that's true.
She's also 2 weeks old, so just give it another month.
Yeah, he'll be a full ball of energy here soon enough.
Big time.
Awesome. Okay, well, so how about then, as you guys are you're creating content, you're doing more of your like kind of daily things. What kind of messages is it that you're really hoping to convey as you guys do that? What's kind of like the ambition behind continuing to move forward with your what you're presenting? It's not just a matter of making people laugh, like you said. It's we used to do goofy pranks, and that just kind of got people's attention, but. And now you've got something that where people are listening. So what is it you're trying to tell them with your work and with your content?
Yeah, I mean, originally a lot of it was like the pranks. That was our style, and that's what we like to do because it was funny and it would get the attention.
And that's what he was more comfortable with too, because his dad was a prankster.
But
we know how to do that.
But yeah, I think it's transitioned more and more into, like growing up, I always wanted to spread the word of God to people. Like actually, I wanted to be a music producer, and my dream in middle school was I want to do EDM, Christian music, and throw like these big Christian rave type of events, and have all this music and fun stuff and clean and like it's kind of always been ingrained in me and wanting to do that type of thing. So this is a perfect like transition of, now we're showing our life. We're able to be more personable with our audience. How can we start incorporating like the word into it? And I don't know, now we're also thinking about doing a podcast in the future.
Okay.
To really be able to speak into that.
Because people love biblical marriage.
Yeah.
That's true. Well, I think when it comes to marriage, and I actually had this conversation with you guys met Brian Shekakawa, he's the brains behind this event. And one of the conversations we had was we were pointing out how, over 50% of marriages end in divorce, and a lot of people kind of get fixated on if they're trying to have their marriage work, that what they really focus on is just avoiding divorce rather than building a good marriage. Yeah. And I think that what's been really a blessing for this event has been couples like yourselves, because more than half the panel now ends up being married couples who God is at the center of their marriage, and they're sharing the faith. It's not about closet Christians. These are people who are saying, yes, the reason it works is because we invite Jesus in here. I mean, there's got to be something in God's message just in the fact that, he ended up taking more than half the panel to say, yeah, by the way, the whole country seems plagued by this, lack of relationship at home. And now we're getting a chance to speak directly into it. So tell me more about the podcast here, because I love that you guys are leaning towards that. I mean, do you guys have any kind of hard set dates or anything like that when it's going to launch? Or
not yet. It's more of just in the talks. We have like the equipment, but we're just still trying to figure it out and where we're going to put it, and all that type of stuff. But like, I love podcasts, and I run one for my dad actually as well still, just like once a week. And I really want to speak into, like, here's the idea is we're going to be talking about like biblical marriage, Christianity, things in the news, what else? Like so many things.
Raising babies.
Raising kids and as young parents and just all the things. And biblical marriage is not really like painted in a good light anymore. Yeah, and people call you sexist and all these things, like living a traditional type of lifestyle. But we want to be able to speak into that and show people that that's not the case, not at all. Right. And people have totally misjudged it.
Sure. So, I mean, you said that you made the joke about doing dishes, you know, and I'm sure that there's probably a lot of people who they would want to jump at that opportunity to be like, oh, what a horrible, but somebody's got to do the dishes. Like, it still has to get done. I mean, why is it wrong that? So,
why is it wrong that I do the dishes? It's not wrong.
So, yeah, I think that's beautiful. You guys are trying to remind people that there's a design, and it works.
Yeah, that's why I really wish I had the stat on me, because you mentioned like what 50% or over 50% of marriages end in divorces now. Like that number drops to something incredibly low when you're living a traditional biblical marriage where you both kind of respect each other and have your roles and love each other, and it's amazing.
Yeah, and I know that there's a lot of misconceptions, because I was one of them. I was one of the people who had those misconceptions. If you told me you had a biblical marriage, I automatically assumed that the poor wife had no say in anything, and the husband was a tyrant who just kind of ruled everything with an iron fist. And I mean, there's these images, and what's sad is that a lot of the images come from examples that were real. Like there were people who lived out those things. And so what happened was it became an issue that people had to fight against. And I have no problem with people fighting against it. But the thing that they are fighting against is they think they're fighting against a biblical marriage. They're not. They're actually fighting against a bad marriage. That's hiding under biblical context.
Yes.
So, and I love that you guys are going to try and tackle that. I don't know if there's a better, that might be the one thing. If there's one thing that might change our entire, country, if we could put marriages back together, you'd end up seeing families get reunited. You'd see families turn to, neighborhoods. Neighborhoods would turn into actual cities and counties, and you'd have and we'd actually be able to see change on a countrywide cultural scale. If people could just learn that there's a right and a wrong way for how love is expressed, for how people respect each other. And for the roles that, we're all equal in value, but we're not all the same. And it was designed that way.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's beautiful. I love that you guys, okay, what a great ambition. All right. So let's shift focus a little bit now. Let's head towards, you already mentioned you got a podcast. What other kind of things are in your guys' future? You got any fun, big events coming up, or are we really focused on just trying to build the family for now?
Yeah. I mean, we got this, really cool event coming in called We Are CIC. We're excited about that.
Well, I'm excited too. That was going to be fun. No, I'm up for your guys' stuff though. What have you guys got coming in the works? You got a podcast? Any new breakout strategies for videos or anything like that? Or it's always kind of hard when you got a bunch of kids in the works. So I don't know if there's.
No, I think.
Not really. I mean, we're focused on filming our life and getting our YouTube. We are going to start posting on our YouTube channel more and more, and get content out there of our life and like all the cool things about it and about having kids. I don't know if anything new other than the podcast. Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. Well, the good news is I've been loving. The pranks are fun, but for me. I've actually been enjoying a lot more of your guys' new stuff, the family life.
That is kind of like a big reason we wanted to shift away from that is how we were being presented to people as well. Is pranks get a bad rap, especially I guess when you do the kind that we were doing as well. especially when like growing up, my dad did wholesome pranks. He wasn't one of those, jerks out there, being mean to people. So like we did those crazy pranks because it worked and it would get views. But we really hated it. Like we wanted to switch into something more wholesome, and show who we really are to people.
Yeah.
Because we're not really crazy people that like to smash whipped cream in each other's face all day. So
if you did it all the time, it wouldn't have any of the value to it anymore.
Yeah. Exactly. So we wanted to get away from that and show people like this is who we really are.
Yeah.
We love Jesus, and
we love each other. We don't hate each other. We're not gonna get divorced.
Like how many comments? Oh my gosh. The comments are one of the funniest parts about being a social media influencer is you get to read the funniest comments. People who think they know everything, you just read the comments and it's just like
we're giving you advice.
Yeah. Hey guys, it looks like you're having an issue here. Let me explain how to solve your problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
You need to leave them now.
Yeah.
Red flags.
But it's interesting because it gives you an insight into our world today and how people, even in some of our wholesome videos, you get people that are mad at me or mad at her. They're like, girl, I would leave him so fast. You need a divorce and like all these things. You're like, wow, I can't believe this is our world. People think that like marriage isn't a sacred union anymore. It's no different than being a boyfriend or girlfriend to people. Yeah. Like they'll just divorce people like that.
Yeah.
It's just blew my mind. I'm like, wow, you guys go straight to divorce? What happened to choosing to love somebody and like
challenging
each other and working on your issues? But now it's just divorce. It's
right.
like,
he made me walk stairs. Divorce.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he didn't open the door for me, this time. So he obviously doesn't love me anymore. Therefore, I'll get rid of him. Yeah. It's, I guess the biggest element that I always try to combat when it comes to, because my wife and I've had some pretty hard times too. To include, we had a time where we separated and it was not pleasant. But the thing that got us back together was the realization that a marriage is the perfect example of what God does for us. When we know the other person is imperfect, makes decisions that we don't like, chooses things they shouldn't choose, and we still have to love them.
Yeah.
That's who God is.
Yeah.
So when he gives us, biblical marriage, he's giving us an example of this is how I'm loving you. And it's okay to do that same kind of love to another. Yeah. And it's just so personal and intimate. That's why, he does say that, we don't just leave our families to become joined to each other. It's literally to the point of the same flesh, the same, basically the same being. I think I heard one pastor once say, and I was laughing so hard, he said, the reason why we're so fixated on a good marriage is because when you take a horrible person and a horrible person, the two of them together might make a good person.
Yeah.
And that's what marriage helps with.
Yeah.
So,
if you allow it, that's for sure.
Yeah. Okay, well, so you guys, so are we going to just stop pranks altogether, or are there still going to be some of those worked in there?
Those crazy pranks, I think, are done. Where it was kind of mean spirited with I don't know, maybe a whipped cream in the face once every few months if it fits.
Right there.
No more mean spirited pranks.
We prank each other all the time. Still, like we scare each other, or we do mess with each other just naturally, but we don't
mess with each other. Yeah.
We don't film it.
Gotcha.
Constantly.
But we will have some pranks in there, but not the kind that we were doing.
Gotcha. Yes. Okay. Well, and I do have to tell you, as a guy who has been watching you guys' stuff, I like your new stuff a lot better. The whole family related, it's so heartwarming.
Thank you.
So I'm loving where you guys are heading with it. Okay, so I want to make sure we honor your time here, and I know that we're coming on the bottom half of the hour here. So let me ask, for people who are going to be on the panel, you guys have a different view from those of us who are not on the, like, I'll be asking questions, but the audience is going to be the ones who get to like benefit from all the different questions that get asked and how you guys' viewpoints are on these. So they've probably got the ambition of, trying to show up and get on fire for God and have inspiration. But my question really more for you guys is, since you're on the other side of that, what is it that means success for you? to show up to the event and to get to be on the panel and to get to speak into people's lives a little bit, what is it that's the result that you're hoping for? And you say, that was exactly why we did this.
I hope that if we're able to speak about like biblical marriage, that it really opens some people's eyes if they have like other ideas. Because even now, even Christians don't really want, like a lot of Christians, I believe, don't really want to like have the actual biblical marriage the way it's designed. And my parents don't even. And that's normal for like everybody, you know. I feel like so.
And everyone struggles with it too. Like we're not perfect at living out biblical marriage.
I hope to speak into that for some people.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I would definitely agree, because that's something we're really passionate about. Because, I mean, especially when you involve kids and children, you know, they are watching you from a very young age.
Yeah.
So if we can set that example and learn and help others learn that when they're showing their kids the example of how to love each other, it's huge.
Yes.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
Ripple.
And speak. So you guys are really focused on just trying to help reignite the idea of marriage and having it be God-centric.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Okay. Well, and you guys, I know I don't get to see all the behind the scenes stuff, but you know, you certainly at least give enough of an inspiration to make people want to try and, you know, make that an element in their life. Because you do, I think I know some other people might say, oh my gosh, you need to divorce that guy. But from what I can tell, it's like you guys are a young, loving couple who are really focused on God. I'm just blown away to have you guys. So we'll close this out with just saying I want to thank you guys again for just answering our questions and getting to share your story. There's a lot of power in your testimony too. You guys came from such different backgrounds and you guys are molded together so well. And I love that you guys, just throughout the conversation, it's great to see the commitment towards each other with everything that you guys are doing. So God bless you. And thanks again for joining us. For everybody else that's watching, I want to thank you guys for joining us. Chris and Chenoa, you guys are just a beautiful couple. We're looking forward to see you on July 26th. We're going to be at the South Point in Las Vegas, Nevada. And I think we've got some meet and greets going on, live music. There's going to be a lot of different moving parts. So it's going to be a pretty fun-filled day. But I'm hoping that you guys will definitely get to enjoy it as much as you can. I know with little ones, hopefully we'll get to accommodate and if you guys have a little bit of some time to yourselves while you're in Vegas too. But nonetheless, thanks for joining us today. Really, truly appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks for having us. We're really excited.
Yeah.
Awesome.